Already had two versions of my division predictions, but of course, we had a lot of other news in the NFL during those times. Now I'm going to revisit all of them all in one video.
It's football time.
Alrighty, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the All Around Sports Podcast, or sports, everything on this channel. I'm your host, Antonio. Today, we are doing my every NFL division prediction for this upcoming year. Now, of course, all should know I have done two series of different videos that I've done my division predictions on, but of course, that was before the month of August. We all knew that there was gonna be some sort of breaking news coming out of the NFL, like trades, signings, etc. But today we are wrapping all of our division predictions into one video. I'm gonna do all 8 of the divisions in today's video. But I'm gonna go. Here's how it's gonna work. I'm gonna go from my first place team of the division to the last place team, and then of course on to the next division as usual. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do me a big massive favor and smash like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. For now, let's get started on the predictions. Alrighty, so to make things a little easier, I've moved my camera over a little bit so that way I can have all of my division predictions on one side of myself so y'all could see. So, starting off, we're going to start with the AFC South. So, the AFC South, in first place of the division, I have the Texans, a ceiling of 12-5 and a floor of 9-8. I think their defense got a whole lot better with the addition of CJ Gardner Johnson. And then you also, of course, had the trade for Christian Kirk, as well as getting Nick Chubb to also fill in with Joe Mixon as well. But I love the Texans core that they have around him. I know the offensive line still has some questions, but with this roster I had that they have in place, I believe the Texans are going to find some way to win the division again. At the numbers in second place, I have the Jags with a 11-6 record ceiling and a 9-8 record floor. I do believe in Trevor Lawrence, but of course you can't trust him just because of that one playoff appearance. I need to see what he could do with the addition of Travis Hunter to that team. Now, I would be surprised if he actually plays both sides of the ball relatively well. I would be surprised if that happens. But the Jags, I believe, are a sneaky underdog team. Brian Thomas Jr. had an amazing year last year. I think he's only going to pick up from where he left off. So I see the Jags coming in second place. And then in third place, I have the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans I have finishing with a ceiling of 10-7 and a floor of 9-8. I believe the Titans are a really good team because Cam Ward there, your future quarterback. You got Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley, Xavier Restrepo, Tony Pollard, Rico. Wait, no, Rico Dowell went to the Carolina Panthers. My bad. But then you also got some other pieces selected in the draft, like Gunnar Helm. I believe that Brian Callahan, I believe he's going to help this team more. Because the Titans, I believe they're a sneaky growing up threat. And heck, if they were number one in passing defense last year, then they can probably make some noise if their offense is any good this year. Cam Ward, of course, is still a question mark, but I have all the faith in the world that he can make an instant snap into the NFL. Then last place, I'm sorry, Colts, but I had to do it. I have the Colts finishing with a ceiling of 8-9 and a floor of 6-11. I just I need to see Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones with this team in order for me to actually trust them. I get they got Tyler Warren. I get they got JT. I get they got Tarvarius Ward in there now, but still, this is a team that either shows one game they're a playoff contender and then choke away the playoffs next, like against the New York Football Giants.
Just one sucker!
You aren't the only team though that missed the playoffs by losing to the New York Giants. Just look at my hat here. But anyways, that's my division predictions for the AFC South. Now to the NFC South. For the NFC South, in first place of the division, again, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them finishing with a ceiling of 12-5 and a floor of 9-8. And of course, and Baker Mayfield actually recently spoke out about their newest receiver, Ime Iboka. I'm just gonna mention this really quick. He said, "quote You can put Iboka anywhere in anywhere. It's really it really is the truth. It is fun to be able to have a guy like that who is that intelligent, does not act like a rookie." So I at first, when I first saw the draft of Emel Boca, I was like, I'm not sure. I think the defense is probably a big need. That's when I saw their idea. We all know Chris Godwin and Mike Evans aren't going to be in the league much longer. And who else better to have a mentor than Ime Boca than a guy that's about to break Jerry Rice's record in Mike Evans? That is an amazing move. I love that move. That's a sneaky move. But I think the Buccaneers, this is the best version we've seen of them this far. I believe that they are going to be not only win the division, but possibly make an NFC title game. But then the Falcons I have in second place with a ceiling of 11-6 and a floor of 8-9. Of course, Michael Penix is still a question mark, but I still see them finishing in second because their defense got a lot better with John Walker, James Pierce Jr., Xavier Watts. Their defense is all there now. Now you just got to rely on what you saw from Michael Penix last season. If he can be at least better than he was in that last stretch, I believe they can do a lot of good things. We saw great flashes of Michael Penix in the game against the Commanders last year. And I believe that if Michael Penix could do just that against the teams that they have on their schedule, I believe that they are going to be a sneaky team. Then in third, I have the Carolina Panthers. Panthers, I believe their team is a really sneaky team. I really trust in Bryce Young this year. I believe that they are one of the sneakier teams in the NFC. They could be a sneaky team. I have them finishing with a ceiling of 10-7 and a floor of 8-9. Like the Falcons floor, I think that Bryce Young has a lot of potential around him. They just added Jimmy Horn and Tedero McMillan in the draft, also bringing back Hunter Renfrow as well into the NFL. But then last place, the Saints. I have the Saints finishing at last, unfortunately. I have them going 8-9 as the ceiling and 7-10 as the floor. Although I did like those golden alternative jerseys that they got. Those look really good. I'm excited to see what those look like in a game. Just don't wear them against Seattle, okay? But anyways, that's my prediction for the NFC South. Now we'll move on to the AFC West. For the AFC West, I have the Broncos finishing in first place of the division this year. I have them finishing with a ceiling of 13-4 and a floor of 11-6. I believe the Broncos are by far the sneakiest version that we have seen of them in recent years. I believe the Broncos, with the addition of Dre Greenlaw and Julio Funga, they are going to get better. When those two are on the field healthy, they are haymakers. And not only that, you brought in Jahad Barron from the draft. And not only that, you went out there and got offensive weapons and Pat Bryant, that's a sneaky under the radar rookie that was drafted. But I like what the Broncos are doing. Bo Nix, of course, Sean Payton had some things to say, but I'll talk about that in a later video. In second place, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs are better. I'm not saying better than they were last year, but they are a little bit better. Their offensive line may be fixed with the picks of Josh Simmons, but we'll have to wait and see what happens first. But I have them finishing with a ceiling of 12-5 and a floor of 10-7. Because even though it is Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, we are still in question on if they can actually be better. Because the defense last year did not look that smooth in that Super Bowl. But in third place, I might shock some people here. I have the Raiders coming in third place with a ceiling of 10-7 and a floor of 9-8. Look, they just added Geno Smith. They just drafted Ashton Genty. They brought in also along Deontay Thornton and also Jake Besh from the draft. And not only that, you have Brock Bowers still there, who hit 1,000 yards last year. Geno Smith was able to have a winning season with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN, and others around him. With, of course, the coaching help of Pete Carroll that one season. But this is a good season for the Raiders. I believe Pete Carroll is a really good coach, and he knows on how to run the ball, except for that one Super Bowl that he didn't run the ball. But we don't really need to bring that up. But Pete Carroll and the Raiders, I have a lot of hope in them this year. That means last place, I got the Chargers. Now, this is no knock against Jim Harbaugh. This is no knock against them. I do, however, like their jerseys that they revealed this past few months ago. I do like those, and that meme I popped up kind of says that. But their defense is different. Their offense, we don't know if they're going to be that better. And this is no knock against Jim Harbaugh or the Chargers. I just think that their division is slightly more competitive than it has been in the past. This is the most competitive this division has been in a long time. And as a matter of fact, I don't think this division has been this competitive in a long time or even ever. So that's my predictions for the AFC West. Next up to my division, the NFC West. The NFC West, we all know, of course, is the division of one of the teams I'm rocking. Now, when I say who's in first place, I'm not being biased, just to make y'all clear. But I have the Seattle Seahawks winning the division. Hold on, let me explain. I know what y'all are thinking. Tony, they just let go of Geno Smith for Sam Darnold. Tony, they just let go of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But didn't they just get up? Didn't they just get MVS and others to add on to that team? Troy Horton, Jalen Milroe, and also along with Elijah Arroyo in the draft. Of course, they did release Noah Fant afterwards. But let me explain. I believe the Seahawks are going to win the division this year. I believe there's a really good chance they can. I have them finishing with a ceiling of 12-5 and a floor of 10-7. And we all know this. Mike Macdonald in his second years in the NFL have been amazing. Look back at his time in Baltimore. The year after he was in there for a year, they had the number one defense in the league. That could be the same thing with Seattle. You just added DeMarcus Lawrence, who is a leader, who is one of the big leaders on their team. Who knows? Maybe they can trade for Micah Parsons as well. Reunite those two. But I wouldn't expect that. But I believe Seattle has a lot of great potential. Their defense, the only category they ranked outside the top 15 last year was one defense, but they ranked 16th. If they looked as good as they did on defense last year, I have no doubt in my mind that this defense could be a top 10 unit. And not only that, did you know the Seahawks had the third highest pressure rate of any team in last year? The third highest. Something they've never been in a long time. But Seattle, I believe Sam Darnold has a lot of great potential. Blake Kubiak had some familiarity with Sam Darnold back with it in his time in San Francisco. But I see the Seahawks winning the division this year. Of course, if I'm wrong, y'all can get on me all you want. But second place, I have the Rams with a ceiling of 11-6, a floor of 10-7. Now, last year the Rams got bulldozed all over the place by the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're notoriously known for their slow starts. They start slow again, I don't think they're going to get out of it because they've had too many slow starts, and their schedule is a little bit more tricky this year. But the Rams, I get Devontae Adams a big signing, but he is a little, let's just say, washed. He's not as good as he is as his rookie form. But I do think that the Rams will be right back in this race. They were one of the better teams in the NFL. And as a matter of fact, the only team in the playoffs that actually made it close with the Philadelphia Eagles. But in third place, I have the 49ers. Take this in, Niner fans, because this is the only time I'm going to be respectful to you. The 49ers have finishing with a ceiling of 10-7 and a floor of 7-10. I know they got a little bit better in quotes, but they still have a lot of questions. We don't know if they're going to be entirely healthy when the playoffs come around. We don't know if Purdy's actually going to perform or not. We don't know if he's just a game manager or if he's an actual elite quarterback. But the 49ers, I think they're a team that is waiting to collapse. If they are going to find a way to make the playoffs this year, they have got to keep everybody healthy the entire season. That's the only way that they're going to make the playoffs. And that means in last place, I have the Arizona Cardinals with a ceiling of 9-8 and a floor of 8-9. Now, I know lots of the Cardinal fans are going to get on me about this. I know that Cardinal fans don't like hearing this. When was the last time you all beat Seattle? When was the last time that happened? During the bubble year when Kyler Murray was at home. But I'm not necessarily hating on the Cardinals. I like what they're doing, but Kyler Murray can be the guy that makes or breaks your season. Last year, they choked away their last 5 games. They lost 5 of their last 6 games. They had a 6-4 record in the lead of the division. And what happened what happened? They lost to Seattle twice and crumbled ever since. This is what the Cardinals are accustomed to do. They are accustomed to collapsing. Every time they look good, they always find a way to collapse. I get their team's better, but we still need to see Kyler Murray actually look like a top 5 quarterback. But that's enough of the NFC West. Now to the AFC East. AFC East, I have the Bills finishing again in first place of the division because they own their entire division, especially the Miami Dolphins.
Not cool, man. Not cool. You really thought you could stop me? You worthless, weak little nothing. Come out and fight! Or are you too scared? Just what I thought.
But the Bills, I have them finishing with a ceiling of 13-4 and a floor of 11-6. I believe the Bills are better than they were last year. And I know that's a lot, but I believe it because they added 3 key defensive players in the first 3 rounds of the draft. They added Maxwell Harrison, TJ Sanders, and Landon Jackson. 3 really good, solid, underrated defensive players. Their team only lost because of that defense last year. And also Dalton Kincaid's drop. But they are better. They added Joshua Palmer and Elijah Moore to help out Josh Allen. And if Josh Allen looked the way that he looked last year, without Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis, he can have a potential to lead this team to the Super Bowl. Because I believe they're right now ahead of the Chiefs right now. Maybe the Ravens, but we'll see week 1. But second place, I got the New England Patriots. I got them finishing with a record of 10-7 and a floor of 7-10. Mike Vrabel is one of the most underrated coaches in the league. He was fired unrightedly from the Tennessee Titans. I think if he would have stayed with Tennessee, I think Cam Ward would have a better career or any of those other players. But I believe Mike Vrabel is a solid head coach. He led the Titans in the AFC title game. I think it was his first year in the NFL. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he is a solid coach. And if Drake May was able to survive that horde offensive line last year and just added Will Campbell to their team, I believe their team is a solid one to keep an eye out on because their team is offensively talented. They added defensive guys to help them out, and I believe the Patriots are going to be a sneaky team this year. Then you got the Jets coming in third with a ceiling of 9-8 and a floor of 7-10. I believe the Jets are a little bit better. And of course, not the likes of Aaron Rodgers in that building. Now he's in the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we'll get to them in a second. But I think the Jets are a little better. Justin Fields, I was pulling for the Steelers to re-sign him because Justin Fields is a solid quarterback. He's a solid guy. And I think the Jets, with first-year head coach Aaron Glenn, can make some noise. Now, am I saying they can make the playoffs? No. Am I saying they can win the division? Absolutely not. But I believe the Jets are a little sneakier than some people think. And then last place, I got the Miami Dolphins, the team that turns into frozen sushi on the road. And I'm finishing with a ceiling of 8-9 and a floor of 7-10. I am just not a big believer in Tua. He is arguably one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the NFL. And he has too many concussions for all we care. He's only beaten Josh Allen once, and none ever since that one time. And the Dolphins, their offensive core is just horrible. You got mixed chemistry with Tyreek Hill and Jalen and Tua. Got their chemistry in question, and also their team is just not built to win games. They always find a way to lose. Every time they're on the road, the only team they've beaten over 500 was the Dallas Cowboys. That's who they beat. The Cowboys. That's the only over 500 team they have beaten. The only one. And it was the Cowboys. The accident waiting to happen by Stephen A. Smith. But I think the Dolphins are a solid team. They got a lot of great stuff in the future. You just got to let go of Tua. If he doesn't get this team into the playoffs and make some playoff noise, they are going to have to let him go. And he probably may not set foot in the NFL ever again. So that's my AFC East predictions. Now to the NFC East, home of the defending champions. And at the end, starting off with the NFC East, I have the Eagles winning the division again. I think their ceiling is a record of 15-2 and a floor of 12-5. The Eagles, we all know they're defending champions. We all know that they are one of the sneakier teams that won the Super Bowl, and they're arguably one of the most disrespected Super Bowl champions I've ever seen. But the Eagles, I think their team is a lot better than they were last year. Add Andrew Mukuba and also Jahad Campbell. You brought back Zach Bond. You brought in Azeez Ojulari from the New York Giants. You brought in so many different pieces onto that roster now. Howie Roseman deserves a raise for what he's been able to do. Because get this, the Eagles now have 13 NFL draft picks for next year's draft in Pittsburgh. Could you imagine if they win a Super Bowl and they went to their brotherly state division rival, their brotherly state rival in their building to rub a back-to-back Super Bowl win in their face? Oh, I would bet there would be a lot of Philadelphia Eagle fans there. I would already count on that if they went back-to-back. But I have the Commanders finishing in second place. I have them finishing with a ceiling of 13-4 and a floor of 10-7. I believe that they are a really good team. The Commanders, of course, got a little contract dispute going on with Terry McLaurin, but Deebo Samuel's still a solid guy. Of course, he is putting on a few pounds, but they are still a solid team. They got Jaden Daniels there, one of the best rookie quarterbacks of all time, and he is a skilled player. You got Bobby Wagner and Von Miller on their team, and you got a very surprising thing. Commanders went from being a sorry franchise to having guys like Von Miller go there ring chasing. I mean, it is a really good day for Commander fans, if you ask me. But then in third, I have the Dallas Cowboys with a ceiling of 9-8 and a floor of 7-10. Although they had an A+ draft, according to PFF, I still need to see the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. Because Dak, whenever he's on there, he's always a good player. But he's been injured only twice. Of course, with that gruesome leg injury he sustained against the Giants in the bubble year, and then the one most recently. I believe that the Cowboys have a lot of potential for the future, but George Pickens is going to be a havoc maker in that locker room. I'm just going to say that right now. And then in last place is, of course, the New York Giants. And I am finishing with a ceiling of 9-8 and a floor of 6-11. Now, the Giants, I believe there's actually some bright side to them this year. I think they can actually go neck to neck with some of the other teams in the NFC. and let alone in the NFL. Because last year, the Carolina Panthers went toe-to-toe with the 2 Super Bowl teams. And the Giants actually were competitive in their games. They ranked 8th in passing defense last year. Nobody knows that, but it's true. They ranked 8th in passing defense. And if they went out there and just added Abdul Carter and brought in lots of good and sneaky guys like Cam Scottaboo to help complement that offense, this could be a sneaky team. I said it. I think the Giants could be a sneaky team. And if the 49ers lose to the Giants, they're not making the playoffs. Just look at the Seahawks and Colts from last year. But that's my predictions for the NFC East. Now to wrap it up with the Northern divisions. Starting us off with the first place team of the AFC North is the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens I have finishing with a ceiling of 13-4 and a floor of 10-7. I believe the Ravens are a lot better than they were. They got one of the best secondaries we've seen in a long time with Jair Alexander, Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton, Nate Wiggins. And not only that, you added LeJohntay Wester in the draft, who's a steal, by the way. I believe he's going to be a steal. Then you also had DeAndre Hopkins with Zay Flowers and also Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry, along with Justice Hill. This team is a really solid team. The only question is, can Lamar show up in the playoffs? But in second place, I got the Bengals, finishing with a ceiling of 12-5 and a floor of 10-7. I believe Joe Burrow has a slightly better team than last year. Now, of course, you still got some contract dispute going on with Trey Hendrickson. Just get the deal done, Mike Brown. Just get it done. But I think the Bengals are a solid team. They got a great receiver core, and they just got a really solid unit all around. And then in third place, I'm going to surprise some folks here. I got the Cleveland Browns. And y'all might think I'm crazy, but I'm going to explain why. Joe Flacco led this team to the playoffs when he was there. And now you just added Snoop Hundley to your team with 5 different quarterbacks, if you ask me. Oh, man, that's probably going to be a little heck. But if you do want to trade Shedeur Sanders, Seattle's always open for a trade request. But I'm just wanting Shedeur because of the way he's looked. But I'm finishing with a ceiling of 10-7 and a floor of 8-9. I think the Browns are a little sneakier. You add Mason Graham to add along with Myles Garrett. Not only that, you still got Jared Jeudy, and you got Quishon Judkins in the draft. Of course, he's now dealing with some sort of legal troubles. But if he's on the field, he's going to be a really good stud. I think the Browns I still got another move left in them. Maybe go after Amari Cooper or Tyler Boyd. But then last place, I got the black and gold incarnation of winners, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers, I got them finishing with a ceiling of 9-8 and a floor of 5-12. I just don't trust the Steelers. And oh my gosh, did you see their throwback uniforms? Ugh, those are ugly. But Aaron Rodgers, although he is going to be a Hall of Famer, I just don't see it with this roster. And you got DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey on the same team. Wonder how that's going to go. I'm just curious on how that's going to go all together. They are building a retirement home in Pittsburgh. It's what it is now. You got 4 30-year-olds on your defense, for crying out loud. You got Slay, Ramsey, Hayward, Watt. This is just not a good sign for Pittsburgh. And I was pulling for y'all to draft Shedeur. And if you wouldn't have done that, I would suggest you should re-sign Justin Fields. But instead, you went after your worst nightmare, Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, beat you to win a Super Bowl. I don't even know why I'm bringing that up, but why would you sign a guy that beats you in the Super Bowl? But I just don't trust the Steelers. I'm not a big fan of their team that they got. Good luck, DK, because this is what you wanted. You want to go to a contender? It was your choice, not ours. Good luck, my friend, because I just feel sorry for you. Well, not really, because they did ring us of a Super Bowl, though. But next up to the NFC North to finish it all off. Now to finish off with the NFC North, I got the Lions finishing in first place of the division with a ceiling of 14-3 and a floor of 10-7. I just think the Lions are a lot better than last year. Remember, last year they were dealing with so many defensive injuries. They had guys coming off the practice squad. And of course, Aiden Hutchinson got hurt in that game against the Cowboys. If he would have stayed healthy, he probably would have won Defensive Player of the Year. But I just think the Lions are a lot better than they were last year. Jared Goff with Amari Cooper, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameis Winston, Sonic and Knuckles, and Sam Laporta are a really solid unit. Then in second place, I got the Green Bay Packers with a ceiling of 12-5 and a floor of 11-6. I just think the Packers are a lot better than last year. They got 2 more receivers to add to their already packed receiver room. And not only that, they added to their offensive line, selecting Belton in the second round. But they are better. I believe Jordan Love is a solid receiver, a solid quarterback. But of course, I just think their defense alone is a really good defense, with, of course, Xavier McKinney playing a massive role. Then in third, I got the Minnesota Vikings, finishing with a ceiling of 11-6 and a floor of 9-8. Although JJ McCarthy is entering his first year in the NFL, I do believe this will be a good season because Sam Darnold was able to go 14-3 with the Vikings last year. And he was supposed to be the backup to JJ McCarthy. If Sam Darnold can do that, so can JJ, because McCarthy is a solid quarterback. We saw flashes of him in that preseason game. But I believe that this JJ McCarthy is going to lead this team to a playoff berth. Of course, we got Jordan Addison dealing with that suspension. Of course, that. And I forgot to mention, oh man, those Packer uniforms, Packer throwback uniforms. Yeah, those are not so pretty. I don't like them. But then the last place team, I got the Bears. The Bears, even though they did get better, I think the division is more competitive. I have them finished with a ceiling of 10-7 and a floor of 8-9. I just think the Bears, Caleb Williams has got a lot of pressure on him this year, but they got a lot of great stuff around him. If he can get this team to the playoffs, he could probably give a lot of Bear fans hope again. They could probably give the city of Chicago hope again for the first time since the Chicago Blackhawks and Michael Jordan when he was with the Bulls. But that's my division predictions, and I'm going to review them all. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm going to pull the division predictions I have up once again. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys agree with my division predictions? Do you guys disagree with them? What team do you guys have winning each division? Let me know in the comments what you guys think down below. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do me a big favor and smash the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, I'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now.